we are going to get just a little bit more comfortable. Make sure everyone can see. I need a little bit of elbow room. I feel like moving this morning. So let me back you up so that we can get some movement doing. Praise and power. Happy Saturday moment. We are having a moment of harmony this morning at our regularly scheduled time. Look at us here on a Saturday at 10. I am always so excited to have a moment with those engagers that are being intentional about their space, being intentional about their growth, being intentional about themselves. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so happy for us to get into it today. We are in a reflection series. We've been through a number of series for those that have been moment followers for a period of time, even back when I was at Facebook, my platform was on Facebook. We've been having a number of moments. We've had a affirmation. We started out with the questions from Morgan State University. We had a matter of moments. We've had an affirmation series. We had a declaration series. We had a praise break. We magnified moments going down to our 100th moment or leading up to our 100th moment. And we are currently in I hope I didn't leave one out. Normally I can go all through all of them. But they are growing. So look at us. I have to reflect to even figure out where we are, okay? But we are currently in a reflection series. We are looking back at it. We are in a 33 week, if my words will come out this morning, we are in a 33-week reflection series. And we are at week number 21. Look at all your hard work. Look at how far you've come. So grateful and excited for you. I'm a little bit tired this morning. It has been a week. I don't know if anyone else has had a week, like a week. I've had a week. It's been one of those weeks. It's almost been a month. Even though it's been my birth month and it's been celebration time, it has been, there's been a lot of changes for this aqua girl. So a week. And then the children and I got up very early this morning to clean up our block and just do some of the things that we do on the weekends when we have those weekends together. So I'm tired, boss, but I need my moment. And so I am coming here, coming clear, ready to go, because I want to tune into all of you that need your moments, right? I want us to have our moments together. So again and again, welcome to a moment of harmony where we are reflecting. Today's episode is entitled Reflect on the Intuition. Reflect on your intuition. That is what today's episode is entitled. That is where we are going to go. And I'm just so happy. Last week we talked about reflecting on the vibration, and the vibration is where you operate from, just where you're coming from. And today our intuition is where we're coming out of, which is very similar. So it's like coming from and where you're coming out of, the intuition that is inside of yourself. So I'm so excited to talk about intuition because on my journey of learning and growth and healing and becoming, one of my major questions to mamas whenever I've had the opportunity to speak to incredible mamas and nanas, I have always wanted to know. So I know we talk about women intuition, womb tuition. I'm big on my womb tuition. But I know that intuition is a self-talk. It is a righteous talk. It is a divine conversation, period. Male and female both. So I really want us to get into that today. But one of my biggest questions always when I am speaking to the elders is like, how do you know? How do I know when I'm talking to myself what to trust, what to hear? How do I know what is real, what is fear? Bars. What is trauma, what are scars? Bars. And how do I know like what is actually my conversation? So it is all our conversation, right? It is all the conversation. That is what I've come to learn now at 38, is that it is all the conversation. And today, as we go through reflecting on our intuition, we're going to go into how to have that discernment, how to separate, how to have those conversations with ourselves in a way that we can trust and hear them clearly and that they move and work with us. So reflecting on the intuition, peace, reflecting on your intuition. Look back at it. We're talking about our self-talk, your intuition, the conversation that happens with fuel that comes from a source, whatever that source is that you call your power source, whatever that source is that you call your I guess, your source of creation, whatever that source is that you call your lifeline, your universal connection. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So when it comes to source, we are all having a connection. We are all having a constant and continuous exchange. And so when it comes to that, I want us to be able to figure out, or not figure out, let's say tune in to the talk. Tune into your talk. Tune into your self-talk. Ashe? Okay. So tune into your intuition, reflect on your intuition. When you're going back, a lot of us are afraid to move forward. A lot of us are afraid to plan. A lot of us are afraid, we're blocked in manifestations because the conversations that we have with ourselves are, so we talked about communication and manifestation with vibration last week. But literally, the conversation that you have to yourself is the most conversation you'll have at any point of the day. And I'm going past affirmation. I'm going past, so yes, we can say, I'll have a conversation with the creator, because that's a conversation with self. I don't want anyone to misconstrue that I'm saying that the conversation with self and prayer are two different conversations. I want us to be very clear. This is the same conversation. You are answering them, or you are reaching out to source. You're reaching out into energy with your worship, with your praise, with your desires, with your requests, with your healing, with your fears. You're reaching out, and the answers come back to you the same way. Right? Not saying that we don't get signs and symbolisms and synchronicities. What I'm saying is it comes back as a self conversation. It goes out as a self conversation. And culturally, for those of us that are descendants of African people, African in our diaspora, right? Or in our ethnicity from the African diaspora, our self, the word self, or the term self, self, is determined as a oneness, or as is defined as a oneness. It is not a separation. When we say self, like me from everyone else, self is connected, self is community, self is one, self is jinyame. I don't have my jinyame earrings today, but self is also one with the creator. So when I say self-talk, because I'm breaking it down, because I'm going to say self-talk a lot today as it pertains to intuition. So I'm going to say self-talk a lot. And when I say self-talk, I mean 1000% your divine dialogue. Divine dialogue. Intuition is a divine dialogue. It should be revered. It should be adhered to. It should be cultivated. It should be protected. It should be honed. It should be honed. You should have a divine dialogue that is of the utmost quality, because it is your direction, it is your connection, it is your protection. It is your direction, it is your connection, it is your protection. When we look back over our past pains and traumas, the most, if not all, of our pains and our dismay and our destruction came from a lack of self-adherence. A lack of self-adherence. Not hearing self, not listening to self, not honoring self. When we hear, like, don't go there, don't wear that, don't do that, don't be around that person, don't take this job, don't take that money, we're hearing that, don't go in this room, don't sit on this person, don't be around this person. Many of us, children are the closest to divine dialogue. I love children. When it comes to their natural spirituality, they are the closest to source. This is why I love children so much. Children are close to source. Now, they come up out of here and we get all types of distractions going on. But in their purest of states, children are so close to source. And children know, like, they feel when something isn't right. If you see them with Chuck E. Cheese or any type of mascot that's dressed up like a bear or an eagle that's walking around, children are like, bears don't walk and talk. They have a very basic understanding of should and shouldn't. And it's not overcomplicated and complex. And therefore, they accept less and expect more. They accept less and they expect more. They expect things to be in more of an alignment and more of an organ. They expect things to be in their understanding. As adults, we begin to move away from our understanding, and we don't begin, we move away from expecting things to align with our understanding, thus putting us in places of deception, putting us in harmful places. Peace to everyone. Thank you everyone for joining on the chat this morning. Thank you for being live with me. Much love and light to you all. But we get away from expecting things to align with our understanding, and we begin to accept things that don't, and that comes from a lack of divine dialogue. A child will say, I don't want to talk to them, or I don't want to sit with them, or I don't want to go there, I don't like being there. And they don't, you're like, well, why don't you like it? This is fun, this is nice. And of course, we know children think things are boring, or not for, I'm talking about when your child genuinely feels something, and those of us that are parents know that your child, gets on point, like, I like this dog, or I don't like that dog, type of thing. The way that they sense things, their sensory is in alignment with their divine dialogue. And I want us to get to that point. I want us to get to a point in our healing and our recovery where we become so in tune with and aligned with our divine dialogue that we don't veer from it. We don't fear it. We don't avoid it. We don't shut it down. We don't discount it. And that is very, very difficult because we're in a society that literally is a programming society. So when you're a part of a society that's programming at its core, that's its main operation is the program, it moves you further away from your wiring. It moves you further away from your wiring. I have a Moment of Harmony, or I have a Harmony original that I'm going to post on Facebook sooner or later about love and connection and romance. And my Harmony original is, we are wired for love and worried into loneliness. Wired for love, but worried into loneliness. I might actually post that today now that it's at the forefront of my mind. But what I'm saying by that is that there's a wiring that we have that is diluted, that is destroyed, that is shut down because society can't have you come pre-wired. So you ever hear when something says batteries included? We come here pre-wired for connection, for understanding, for energetic frequency, right? We come already like that. The Creator has endowed us with self. Remember how I defined self at the beginning. The Creator have endowed us with self. And being endowed with self means that I am all connected. I am all knowing. I am all present. Omni, right? When we come into a society that is for programming and conditioning, and that's the only operation, it is the primary operation, what is the first thing you think that must happen? Must have to unwire. Cut the wires, cut our connections. This can turn into a history class real quick. So I'm trying to not let it go all the way back because I want us to keep moving forward. I want us to get into the meat of today. But cut our wires, our culture, our communications, our language, our spiritual practice. Cut the wires. So if you came pre-wired and your wiring has been cut, what does that mean for you? The way you think, the way you operate, the way you see the world, the way you heal. It means that you only are going as far as you're allowed to go instead of as far as you were anointed to go. Hey, DJ, play that back, run that back. You're only going, the position that we're in today of despair, of desperation, of depression, of pain, of lethargy, of desensitization, the place that we are in today is because we're only operating within a realm of allowance instead of a realm of anointings. And you've been anointed to feel. You've been empowered. You've been blessed. You've been created. You've been wired. You've been wired. Do not allow the rewiring to falsely direct you. Do not allow the rewiring to keep you from going into the greatest depths of yourself to become the greatest heights of yourself. Mommy Mercy, 1 second. Lovely. 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 So sorry, everyone. I know I have so many people on right now, but Mommy Mercy is always a great part. I'm always letting them know when I'm going live, and it's a house full of people, and I got some extras in the house. I got some godchildren up in here. So I just want everyone to keep in mind that Mama is live so that we can continue. So, okay. So the wiring. We want to be careful of the rewiring. So when I talk about self-talk, I'm talking about your initial wiring. I'm talking about your batteries included. The things that you came here with, your intuition. Your intuition. That which is internal, inside of you, internal and eternal. Okay? So the self-talk. The first part of the self-talk that I want us to get into is in terms of it being a part of our reflection series, why it's so important in strengthening your intuition and your divine dialogue and that connection. The reason it becomes so prevalent or so vital is because a lot of our self-talk has been conditioned or rewired based on our past, our histories, our traumas, and our childhoods, based on what we've gone through and where we've been. And also because we don't always have to go back to like being a baby in infantry, because listen, the patterns keep going no matter what. We can go back to high school and see patterns that we are still in today from that time period, but it is always, Sankofa means to go back and get, and this is the whole point of our reflection series. It is to go back and get. It is to have knowledge of self. Know thyself. Y'all, anyone that knows me know that these are the most important lessons I feel like our ancestors left us, period. Know thyself and go back and get. So when we go back and we go back and get, it becomes so important because you can't know better unless you knew better. And a lot of people, a lot of times when we go back into our pain and our histories and our mistakes, we go back a lot of times saying like, I didn't know any better. Or if I knew then what I know now. And we're talking about what the way we interpreted and understood the world, because the way we understand ourselves, know thyself. That's why our ancestors said that. The way we understand ourselves is the way that we interpret the world. So your lack of knowledge of self, your lack of love of self, your lack of understanding for self will leave you perpetually confused, disheveled, disoriented in life. And a lot of times when we're saying we want to do better, we want to have better, we want to be better, we can't get to that place because we can't get to the place inside of us. You can't get to that place without being firm in this place. And so our reflection series is greatly centered around us being able to go back into that place in a wonderful and healing, intentional, divine, and righteous way. Okay? So reflect on the intuition, your self-talk. It is important that we go back and where our self-dialogue began. It is important that we go back to pick up patterns of how we learn to communicate with self. It is important that we go back to understand where we stopped talking to self. This is why this becomes so important. Thank you all so much. When did I stop listening to myself? When did I stop hearing myself? There is normally a very traumatic experience around that. Someone externally not hearing you, and so you stop listening to yourself. Someone on externally not honoring you, and so you stop honoring yourself. Feeling violated, feeling unprotected, feeling unsafe, and so you stop hearing holistically yourself. Being broken in some way, being fractured or fragmented in some way, and then you not being able to holistically communicate with yourself, mind, body, soul, and spirit. There is somewhere along the line when we got off track, and Sankofaing, the reflection becomes so vital. So in order for us to move on into our highest levels of selves, as we intentionally are, that's why you're here today. So happy that you're here today. As we intentionally do, it is very, 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 very important that we go back and say, like, look, I need to reflect on my intuition. There was always a conversation. That's the part I want us to really hold up high, to revere. There is always a conversation. There will never be a creator that doesn't communicate. This is not how creation works. Creation works in just that way. If you are a parent, even if you are an entrepreneur, an inventor, or a business person that has created anything you create, you keep your hands on. Anything you create, you keep your hands on. Do know that creation works in communication. So there is no creator that made you and left you. No matter what it's felt like, no matter what anyone has said to you, no matter what you've gone through, there is always communication, and a divine dialogue comes from a depth of self. Your divine dialogue comes from a depth of self. And sometimes being deeply in ourselves is painful. Being deeply within ourselves is scary. Being deeply within ourselves is unfamiliar. So we won't go there often. What happens when you don't go there, you don't get what's from there. And your divine dialogue comes from a depth of self. Your divine dialogue comes from there. So I am encouraging us to sankofa into some of the darkest, loneliest, broken places within ourselves in order to change, hone, connect to our divine dialogue, to get that conversation flowing again. Rewire your initial wire. What is it? Factory reset your wiring, your connection, until you're in a, keep going within yourself until you're in a, can you hear me now? This is what your depth, the depth of yourself is. Can you hear me now? I know that you've gotten away from me. I know that there have been distractions. I know that there is pain and fracture and disconnection between us. But we would like to do away with the disconnection of divine dialogue and reflect on our intuition. Your intuition, there is a constant communication with creation. Can you hear it? There is a constant communication with creation. Can you feel it? There is a constant communication with creation. Are you it? Is it in you? In a way that you can recognize it, that you are comfortable with it, and that you can hear it just as clear as you can hear my voice to you today. And if that's not, which is not the case for many of us, because of all we've been through, because of this structure of societal structure, this societal structure that deliberately designs us, my word, deliberately unwires us so that we can be programmed. I would like to connect you to the programming. I would like to tell you what's right or what's wrong. I would like to tell you who you should and shouldn't be with. I would like to tell you what you should and shouldn't consume. I would like to tell you when and where and how you should heal. If you could heal yourself, how could pharmacies and what is it, narcotic lords and dispensers, or how could these things, distributors, how could they make money? If you can heal yourself, how does the morgue and the courthouse, and how do we make, so literally the rewiring of yourself is working very, very far away from, the rewiring of yourself is working very, very far away from the programming. So when you're sitting with a point, this is the whole point of this, is when you're sitting in a place within yourself and you're feeling like, I don't know what is wrong or right. Anytime you're feeling like that, there is a lack of depth, a divine dialogue. There's a lack of knowledge of self, because once you know self, you know all. So I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know. When you get into all of that, I don't know. I'm saying, where is the conversation with self? Where is the conversation with self? Peace all. Thank you all for joining and coming on. Peace to everyone. Where is the conversation with self? So reflect on your intuition. Going back into the dialogue, how you learn to communicate with yourself, how you learn to connect to yourself, and how you've fallen into the pitfalls of disconnection. I don't want any of us to feel like, well, I don't hear anything. I don't feel anything. I don't know anything. And feel bad about it, because that's why we're here today. We're in a place of reflection for the pure point of reconnection. Okay, so self-talk. What you knew, you now know. This is why Sankofaing is so important. If you did not know at that point, you won't know now. So this is why we go back into reflection in such an intentional way, because I want to know back. I want to know better. I know back so I can know better. And what does it mean to say know back? I know back because I know back because I go back. I know back what I learned. Remember, we talked about that. What I learned at that time that disconnected me. What I learned at that time that taught me to stop valuing and hearing myself. I need to go back and know that differently. Know that moment differently. Know that circumstance differently. Know my history differently. I need to know where that person was. I need to know where my parents were. I need to know back so that I can relearn my conversation with self. Many of us, when we were, there was an altering of our self conversation when there was an altering of ourselves. There was an altering of our self conversation when there was an altering of ourselves. And so some of the scariest places, again, like I said earlier, that we don't want to revisit are the places that we need to revisit, but for the purpose of understanding the conversation I was having with myself and the disruption of it. Right? Okay. So, no back. Peace, everyone. No back. All right. So, we want to, what you knew, you now know. And that's why it is important to reflect, because we want to know back, go back so we can know back and come back with a better understanding of self. It is the whole point of reflection. It is the whole point is for me to Sankofa, go back and come back with a better understanding of myself. And remember how we defined self early on, so that I can now operate in a higher level of myself. This is all connected. It is all for a purpose. It is all for a reason. So let's go back we're going to go into the 3 points of self-talk before we get out of our moment today. 3 major points of self-talk: sacred self-talk, secret self-talk, and scarred self-talk. Sacred self-talk, secret self-talk, and scarred self-talk. These are the intuition conversations the intuitive connections that we are going to travel in today to gain tools, understanding, and healing in, so that we can move forward with a strengthened intuition, a strengthened divine dialogue within the depths of ourselves. Okay? Sacred self-talk. Your sacred self-talk, your divine dialogue, is the conversation, like we spoke of earlier. It is the conversation of creation. This is everything that I touch, everything that I am a part of, everything that I am going to create. Any manifestation, any idea, any desire, it all is going to start with the communication that I have with myself. Affirmation can be a part of that, but not solely. Right? The way you bump yourself up, the way you mend yourself, that is not the only part of sacred self-talk. Sacred self-talk is revering and hearing the conversation inside of yourself to such a degree that it is primary. Think of anything that you deem sacred. You put your talk with self in that same category. I don't know if it's a car, it's a book, it's a religious or spiritual book or practice, it's your family, it's your health, whatever you deem to be divine in nature, given to you for a divine purpose. That is the same exact place I want you to put your intuition. And the reason that the intuition should be put into a place of divine talk is because intuition is so regularly underrated, undervalued, and underexperienced. Underrated, undervalued, and underexperienced. And it is and when it is done that way, it diminishes our divine connection to everything around us. And one of my favorite, for those of us that are moment followers or moment exchangers on a regular basis, we know that one of my favorite sayings that I heard from Professor Griff was, I am a divine, or I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. One of my favorite ones. a spiritual being having a physical experience. And because I am spiritual having a physical experience, it means that I must always be in connection holistically, as above, so below. Your intuition is a as above, so below conversation. It is the connector. It is a vibration from your spiritual team. It is a vibration from your ancestral realm. It is a vibration from that source. However you define and connect to source, it is that vibration. And so, being able to have a sacred talk, I want you to see your intuition as a sacred talk. I talk to me first. What move should I make? Which direction should I go in? Who should I trust? Who should I try? Who should be connected? I talk to me first. My self-talk is sacred. I revere it. I hold it in a divine place, and I prioritize it and build it and strengthen it so that it is a talk that I can trust. Oh my gosh, so many times my intuition is going off, and I'll be like, no, I don't know. If you see your self-talk as sacred, you will stop tabling it. You will stop back burnering it. You will stop diminishing its value and its volume. You will stop diminishing the value and the volume of your self-talk as soon as you see it for what it is. My divine dialogue is the first conversation I have about anything. It's the first, what should I do today? What should I wear today? What should I take this job? What direction is my career going in? Which direction is my love life going in? Which direction am I going in as a parent and sibling and friend? Where am I now? My divine dialogue is my first conversation. It is sacred. I don't play around about it. I don't, again, ignore it. I don't shake it. I don't poke holes in it. I don't break it down. I want it to be as supreme and pure as it comes straight from the source to me. Like they say, what they say, farm to table. I want my conversations with the creator farm to table. I don't want it to go through this system. I don't want it to have to walk through my trauma. I don't want it to walk through your opinion. I want it to come straight from source to self. Source to self. And that's how I want my intuition to be. That's the state of it. Because once I know that it's there, once I've gotten it there, once I've built it to that place, I will adhere to it. I will trust it. I will be one with it. Source to self. Sacred conversation. Because your sacred self-talk is a divine dialogue, what do you do with anything that's sacred? I see y'all in the chat. What do you do with anything that's sacred? You protect it. Anything that's sacred, you protect it. When it comes to our self-talk, when it comes to our intuition, I want us to delve deeply into the extreme necessity of protecting your conversation, your creative conversation, your conversation with the creator. Okay? Your intuition is a self-talk that is a conversation of creation. Protect your conversation. It's sacred. Protect your conversation. That's what I mean when I say we're not letting it go through X, Y, and Z. That's what I mean when I say it's not going through glass and fire to get to me. It's not going to go through any avenues of delusion to get to me. It's not going through any validation or approval to get to me. I'm protecting it. It is my first conversation. Protect your conversation of creation. That means what you are putting in, what you are consuming, visually, audibly, spiritually, physically, whatever you are consuming is building and feeding your intuition. We're talking about internal growth. Protect the conversation. Listening to this will distort the conversations I have with myself. Laying with you will distort Come on now. Laying with you will distort the conversations that I have with myself. Believing in you will distort the conversations that I have with myself. And it works the other way around. Connecting with you will strengthen the conversations that I have with myself, will enlighten, be collaborating with you will encourage and empower the conversations that I have with myself. Protect that conversation. Sacred self talk. Your intuition is sacred. Don't play with it. Do not allow others to play with it. Oh, you just paranoid. You're just, now granted, trauma plays a major, listen, trauma play is a major trickery, is major trickery. Trauma is a major trickster of talk. So we will get to how are we discerning whether or not what we are saying to ourselves is coming from source and coming from scars. We're going to get to that. But what I am saying that at a pure place where you have been intentional and deliberate about building up, trusting and believing in your intuition. And we say it all the time, something told me I should have just listened to myself. I should have just listened. Or, older people say a lot of times, I should have listened to my first self. I'm going to switch it around a little bit. I should have listened to myself first. I should have listened to myself first. Self first is divine order. And remember how I defined self at the beginning. Self talk is the sacred talk. Protect your conversation with yourself. Protect it from your past and pains. Protect it from your traumas. Protect it from your fears. Protect it from the projection of others. Protect it from all things that will diminish and water down the empowered, powerful conversations you have with yourself. So we have sacred self-talk and then we have secret self-talk. Your secret self-talk. So with sacred self-talk is we need to protect the conversation. With secret self-talk, we need to keep the conversation. We need to keep the conversation. How often do we have a revelation within self, a righteous revelation that comes within yourself? It is in your blood. It is allowed. You can hear it when you wake up. You can feel it when you go to sleep. The Creator have revealed something to you through dialogue, through your divine dialogue. And how many times have we been in divine dialogue and we say what it is that we are thinking, or we give our instruction and we put it on someone else. We share it with someone else. And they don't approve or appreciate or understand. There's a saying that I love that says, when the Creator has a calling for you, it is for you. And if other people don't understand it, that's fine. It wasn't a conference call. And I love that. I saw that on social media, and I always am playing that one as well. Everybody won't understand. It's not a conference call. Everybody won't get the mission. It wasn't a conference call. And that is very similarly what I am meaning about secret self-talk. Some things the Creator are telling, something the Creator is expressing to you, delivering to you, sending to you, and it is for you. This conversation is for me. This receipt is for me. And I mean a receipt, not the way we say receipt now, child. We ain't talking messy. I'm saying the receipt of you asked and I delivered. This is your receipt. Creator sends that to you. You saw and you manifested. This is a receipt. The Creator will do. Listen. We call these symbolisms or symbolic symbols, symbolic symbolic confirmation, right? Those sometimes are a secret self-talk. When you have a sacred self-talk, you protect the conversation. With that same conversation, it is secret and you keep the conversation. That means that once the Creator have spoken to you intuitively, don't lose it. So sometimes we'll meet someone and we will have immediately our intuition will say, This is the point of the secret conversation, the secret self-talk. It'll say no, or to let us know reason, season, lifetime. You know what I'm saying? But we will ignore it and we'll move forward in human nature of exploration and curiosity and understanding, but we'll backdoor the spiritual nature, which is immediate understanding, supreme understanding. We'll backdoor that. If you ever decide to continue to move forward with something, this is where taking things with a grain of salt came from. If you ever decide to not necessarily line up with your intuition right away, you don't trust yourself enough. You're not necessarily there. You have some experiences and you feel like you're still learning how to be 100% confident about that conversation. A-okay. It's a part of the process and it is a growing process. If you get into that place, do me one favor. Maybe you don't listen to yourself first, but don't stop listening to self, period. Keep the conversation. The creator said, intuition spoke, don't take this job, don't buy that car, don't move yet, do move now. Whatever the conversation was and you didn't adhere to it, don't throw it away. It's a secret conversation that you may not be ready to fully understand and grasp, but don't throw it away. Keep the conversation. Because what you heard first, what you saw first, what you understood first is very important. It is the self-talk. It is before you talk yourself out of your self-talk. That is a very important place to be. And when you get into that place and you're at that position, keep the conversation. I love this person, but I'll never forget. I'm not talking about a grudge. I'm talking about knowledge. I'm talking about trust of self. I like this person. I'm going to kick it with this person, but I won't forget that the first conversation I had with myself about you was, listen, come on, from those of us that's getting a little bit seasoned and we're getting a little bit time on us. Every single situation, every single situation that became a situation, there was a conversation initially that was ignored, that was tabled, that was buried, that was ignored, that was avoided. And I'm saying when we get into strengthening our intuitive conversations, our intuitive notions, our intuitive notifications, when we get into strengthening them, one of the major things I want us to do is if you're not yet ready to listen completely, do not dismiss completely either. I want you to take your secret self-talk. The secret self-talk is the feeling on the side of the other conversation you started after the feeling. Keep your secret self-talk. And if it must stay secret, keep it secret. If you can't trust your conversations with external force or external energies, with everyone, is sacred. That's okay. It's your intuition. Remember, it wasn't a conference call. But don't let it go. Your intuition is a conversation to be kept. Keep it. Keep the conversation. It says, you know what? I want to go ahead and make this move with this person, but keep that conversation. I want to go ahead and invest in this way, but I'm intuition. This is a righteous revelation. Keep the conversations of your righteous revelations. Keep it. Your secret self-talk is important, and it will become relevant, and it will show itself as you continue to move through yourself in that process. And you can always use your that very relevant conversation as a reference point. I am going to move in this direction, but my intuition is telling me to be careful. My intuition is telling me to look over. My intuition is telling me to get consultation. My intuition is telling me to slow down or speed up. Listen, keep that conversation. Keeping your secret self talk strengthens your self talk because it strengthens your communication. And a call just came in, so I do not know if it threw off the audio, so I'm going to try to give it a second. Give it a second. A lot of times when there's an interference of a call, it just throws it off. So I don't want that to be the case. So do. Give it a second and hopefully we're back on. Okay. Keeping the conversation, even when you don't understand it, even when you don't know if you should trust it, even when you don't know how to operate within it, what it does is strengthen it. Because when later on, that initial conversation with self, later on, I hope my audio is on. The call is coming in again. Later on, when that initial conversation jumps off, I'm sorry, later on, when you have to refer to that initial conversation, the truth in it reinforces the strength in it. The truth in it later reinforces the strength in it, and it grows your intuition and it grows your relationship with your righteous revelations. It is very important and very dynamic that even if you don't know if you should trust it, even if you aren't certain about it, even if it doesn't translate to you right away, that you still keep it. It's secret. It's a secret conversation, your intuition. It is a sacred conversation, your intuition. And now let's go into the third component, which is a scarred self-talk. This is the healing of the conversation with yourself. So with a sacred self-talk, we protect the conversation. With a secret self-talk, we keep the conversation. With scarred self-talk, we heal the conversation. With scarred self-talk, we heal the conversation. There are conversations that we have with ourselves out of self-preservation and protection. That is the human side of us. Self-preservation and protection, and those conversations are born there. That's also where paranoia, anxiety, PTSD, these things also operate in the same vibration. And because they are often in the same space, we cannot discern them. And so we will do away or dispose of all of it. We'll dispose of all of it. And I don't want us to do that. I don't want you throwing away your self-talk because you don't know if what you're hearing is divine or damaged. I want you to know that all of your self-talk is relevant. All of your self-talk matters to where you're going. Now, some of it is destructive if it's scarred. Instead of throwing away scarred conversations, I want us to become versed and skilled in healing scarred conversations. Heal it over throwing it. And what I mean by that, what does that practically look like? It looks like your scarred conversations have a level of truth in them, to them, because they are based in history. They are based in something that actually happened. And because they're based in something that actually happened, they can alter things from actually happening. It's the balance, it's the mayat of life, right? Because this is so real to me, I can use it to a point where I keep it real to me. Where it doesn't have to be real to me today. It doesn't have to be a part of my current reality. But because it was, and I haven't learned how to heal it, it always is. That's what I'm saying. Because it was, it now always is. And I don't want us to just throw it away because it's not a realistic operation for intuitive conversation. You don't throw away anything when it comes to healing. It is transformative only. That is the only way to heal. And a lot of times we get stuck in a rut because we want to bury, we want to forget, we want to deny, we want to burn, and we want to discard. And there's only one true way into healing, and that is transformation. That is taking what was and molding and mending it into now a new operation of what is. So I want our scarred conversations, our conversations that are rooted in pain. They are rooted in negative experience. Those conversations, have them with yourself and then change them with yourself. So instead of me now saying, hey, I'm coming out of a very toxic relationship. So let me say, instead of saying I'm coming out of a toxic relationship, when I go into the new relationship, when I go into my next chapter, everything he says, everything he does, I may compare it to this toxic situation. But I want to have hope. I want something new. And sometimes I feel like in order to get something new, I have to be brand new. I have to do away with the old. And that is the wrong conversation to have with self. When you are triggered and the conversation that comes up is scarring, you have to heal it. So you have to go into a place instead of saying, no, what if he's not telling the truth because this person never told the truth? What if he's mishandling, or what if she's exploiting me because this person exploited me? Let's heal that conversation. I'm so glad we're having it so we can heal it. That's the first thing you need to say to yourself. Don't shame yourself. Don't deny yourself. Don't shut yourself down. Self, I'm so glad we're having this conversation so that we can heal this conversation. You get into frustration, you get in a pit, you get into a space of like, why does this keep coming up? Why does the worry come up? Why does the pain come up? Why does the distress come up? Don't do that to yourself. Grace and mercy. Say to yourself, self, I'm so glad we're having this conversation so that we can now heal this conversation. Now heal it. Self, why are you telling me that he's going to hurt me? Well, I'm telling you that he's going to hurt you because this other person hurt you. And I don't want you to be hurt again. Do you remember how hard it was for you to get yourself together? Do you remember how long it took for your hair to grow back? Do you remember how long it took you to gain that weight back? Do you remember how humiliated you were? Do you remember how low you felt? Thank you, self. Well, thank you for these conversations. A lot of times we'll run from that. We'll either run from it or we'll run with it. And that's not what needs to happen. We don't want to run from it. We don't want to run with it. We want to reverse it and heal it. Well, yes, self. I do remember. So that means that I do remember how broken I was. I do remember how disappointed I was. So how can I heal now? How I heal now is I need to have that conversation. I need to express differently. Hey, I really am liking where we're going. But I do have pains. Listen, I do have a conversation with myself that is holding me accountable to my past, that is holding me accountable to my past choices and decisions. And I would like to be eased into a new alignment. I would like to no longer align with that part of myself. And therefore, I must heal that part of myself so that it is arisen to where I want to be, so that it rises to where I'm going. So now when I start saying, yes, self, I do remember. I'm not having this conversation in fear. I'm not frantic. I'm not going to back all the way. Never mind now. Okay, we're doing this, self. We're doing this. Yes, how do I know that this person is being honest? How do I know that this is the right road to take? How do I know if you're moving at the right pace? How do I know if, do you remember the last time you invested all your money? You remember the last time you trusted somebody that said, come on, put in your application, I got you? You remember the last time you remember? That is scarred conversations. Heal it. Heal it. I do remember. I remember when I did invest all my money off or not. I remember when I trusted this person with to be a sponsor or a partner in my business. I remember when I did help this person build up their vision or their dream and it did not serve me. I do remember. But instead of running from it or running with it, let's reverse it. Let's revise it. Let's reveal it. That's why we reflect on it. Let's go inside of it. What's supposed to come out of that? What have I learned from that? How can I positively, high vibrantly keep that part of what happened from happening now, but in a transformative way? Not by avoiding it or denying it, but by growing it and creating it. A new reality. So, heal the conversation. You will know if the conversation you are having with yourself about something, about anything, you will understand if this is a scarred conversation or a sacred conversation, because just like the word sounds, a scarred and sacred, the letters are just moved around, right? Sometimes they can look the same. Sometimes they can look very much the same, but it's just moved around a little bit. And I'm confused now. How do I know if what I'm saying right now should be completely, is this a warning and I should listen to it? Or is this a worry and I should hear it, heal it? Is this a warning that I should listen to or a worry that I should lessen from? Heal your conversation. If the conversation you have with yourself is sinking you, it is scarred. It is making you go low. It is making you feel down. It is making you feel sad. It is making you afraid. It is stagnating you. It is keeping you from moving. It's freezing you. It's paralyzing you. This is a scarred conversation. This is a conversation that requires healing. I need to heal. This self-talk that I'm having, it's making me feel a certain way. It's making me less of what I want to be and pulling away from me. This is a scarred conversation. This is scarred self-talk. If the conversation that you're having is saving you, then this is a sacred conversation. This is the difference between the warning and a worry. If what I am thinking and what I am saying to myself, the conclusion that I am drawing is sinking me lower into a low vibration, it's not liberating me. It's not freeing me. It's not bringing me peace. It's not bringing me understanding. I don't have peace with it. This is a sinking. This is a scarred conversation I'm having with myself. This is how I know whether or not I can trust what I'm saying to myself. The direction that I'm gathering, the conclusion that I'm coming to, is it sinking me? Is it saving me? Is it sinking me or saving me? After I have this conversation with myself, maybe I do feel sad, but I feel free. Maybe I do feel conflicted, but I feel released. I feel open. I feel brighter. I feel bigger. That means that the warning or that you're hearing is saving you. Don't do that. Don't go there. Doesn't that sound weird? What he's saying? Doesn't that feel off what she's doing? Don't trust that. Is this my scarred self? Or my sacred self? How do I know the difference? How can I trust it? The thoughts you're having, is it sinking you? Will you be less of yourself following the directive that you're giving yourself? Is it saving you? Will you have more of yourself? I'm not going to say you don't lose something. I'm not saying you don't have to sacrifice anything. I'm not saying you won't feel anything, but will you have more self? Because if you have more of yourself, then the dialogue is saving you. And that is how you can go and heal a scarred situation and move it into a more sacred situation and have more trust and understanding and unity with your intuitive dialogue. I am so very grateful for you all for tuning into a Moment of Harmony today. I am so excited to see you same place, same time next week. Have a wonderful week. For those of us who this week just whipped up on, have a wonderful other week, another week. Have a wonderful week with wonderful energy. Tune into yourself. Have that conversation with yourself first. Self first is divine order. Do not ever be afraid of the conversation and the divine dialogue that is endowed in you innately, that you came here with. There's a whole conversation. There's a lot of noise around you, but there's a whole conversation that you came here with. And yes, it's been attempted to be altered, deleted, and it's been attempted to be diluted. But you and only you can build it, protect it, and hear it. So protect your self conversation. Keep your conversation with self and heal your conversation with self, because your intuition is your divine dialogue, and it is the only way to get all of the guidance you need moving forward. Those sacred conversations are so important. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful week. Please take really good care of yourself, and surely, surely, surely take good care of someone else along the way. Be blessed.